Welcome to Show Don't Tell Writing with me, Suzy Vidori, where I teach you the tried and true secrets to writing fiction, nonfiction that are going to wow your readers, broken down step by step. We're going to explore writing techniques. I'm going to show you a glimpse behind the scenes of successful writers' careers that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. And I'm also going to coach writers live on their pages so that you can learn and transform your own storytelling. Whether you're just starting out, you're drafting your first book, you're editing, or you're currently rewriting that book, or maybe even your 10th book, this show's going to help you unlock the writing skills that you didn't even know you needed, but you definitely do. I'm so looking forward to helping you get your amazing ideas from your mind onto your pages in an exciting way for both you and your readers so that you can achieve your wildest writing dreams. And you're going to also have some fun doing it. Let's dive in.
Today, we're going to be chatting with a really special writer to me, Simon Rose. He was one of the very first professional authors that I met in the flesh, in person, because he was teaching at a local university and I took a creative writing course more than 15 years ago now. Simon became the very first editor that I worked with. Simon was actually my writing coach and he met with me. And if it wasn't for Simon, I probably never would have finished that book. So he holds a special place in my heart, still a really great colleague and friend. We love to geek out about the science behind writing and talking about processes and everything going on in the industry. So I'm incredibly honored to have this conversation with him today. He has published 21 novels, to be specific, for children and young adults, 8 guides for writers on how to write a book, more than 100 nonfiction books, and he has created many articles on a wide variety of topics. Simon is a writing instructor at the University of Calgary, which is where I first met him, and he has served as a writer in residence for the Canadian Authors Association. He provides editing and coaching services for writers in a wide range of genres, and you can find details of the references and recommendations regarding his work on his website, and the link to his website will be in the show notes. Simon also offers in-person and virtual programs for schools and libraries, and offers a variety of online writing courses and workshops for both children and adults. He has extensive experience in writing for a wide range of industries and offers copywriting services to the business community. Simon is a stellar example about how to create an actual career out of writing, and I am super excited to have this conversation with him today and for you to hear all about it. Well, I pride myself on this podcast in bringing stories that are behind the scenes. So I'm going to ask you, if you remember, what did you not like? You were like, I'm not going to put this book out. I'm done. What was it that you didn't like about it?
I think that one, and it was called, I didn't even like the title. I mean, it was called, it was going to be called Saving Great Granddad, I think. And originally it was going to be called An Untimely Death, because it was all about an untimely death. And then I went back to the title. I thought, no, I'm going to call it that. I like that. I don't need to appeal to the reader. I'm going to call it what I like it. It's my book. And I think I just didn't like it because it was another time travel story, and it seemed to be much the same as I'd always done. And it was somebody going back in time, but then he was going back in time. I changed it around a bit, and then it turned around, and he was going to go back in time, inadvertently cause his great grandfather to be killed in World War II, which meant he shouldn't have been alive in the first place to go back in time to meet his great grandfather. The classic paradox. And I thought, oh, well, that's actually quite interesting. And people have actually even bought it sometimes. Yeah, occasionally.
I'm sure you've sold a lot, but you hit the nail on the head, Simon, and that is, when people are just writing their first book, it's hard to imagine having written their 21st book. And I'm going to talk about, I know you've written many more. These are just your fiction novels. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but it's true. As writers, we don't want to keep regurgitating the same thing. And I love how you keep making it fresh and you keep changing that time travel device, even though it's something that you love to write about and near and dear to your heart. You keep it fresh and you challenge yourself and you continue to make it more complex or more difficult. Would you agree with that?
Well, because how it's been made fresh each time, you mean?
Yeah, like because you're saying, oh, I'm writing another time travel novel. And yet you were able to turn it on its head and find some spark that inspired you to keep writing so that you were writing all these pages that you wouldn't remember or be able to read your handwriting later. But you found that thing that you needed to change to make it inspired to you to be able to finish that novel. And that's a skill, right?
It was just the inspiration. It was simple. It was just something as simple as being out with the dog or out at the grocery store or some everyday activity and I suddenly thought, oh, wait a minute, I could do that. And I had to hurry home and write it down as quickly as I could or make some notes somewhere on a piece of paper and decide to do it in that way. And the next projects that I've got happening are not time travel stories or even historical and everything. The one I'm currently working on is had originally started off similar to my paranormal ones, but then it's veered off into something else now. But I'm quite happy with it, and I think if currently it's October as we're recording this. My plan with this is to probably. It may not happen. It's already middle of October. My plan is to try and get it done in the first draft in rough form by the end of the year.
Oh, amazing.
And start to refine it and things in the early part of next year. And if I can do that, there's no reason why I can't get it out in, say, September of next year. Then I have another couple of projects as well that are reasonably well advanced that also aren't. I'm just trying to think, are they? One of them is a bit historical. As I do sometimes worry if I'm plagiarizing myself.
You don't remember what you've written already. I love it. But
this is the problem. This is the problem. I mean, I know that with one idea, one of the ideas I've got, which is quite nicely advanced and everything, as I was writing that, I think I was at the coffee shop looking at the ideas and everything for it, and I thought, well, wait a minute, this sounds very much like The Alchemist's Portrait from 2003. I've got this character, the evil villain is very much the same, and all this sort of thing. It just doesn't involve a picture frame this time. It involves something else. And I've got one that's a fantasy universe thing that's very similar to one that I did called Sphere of Septimus for the fantasy universe. But there was also one that I wrote about called The Emerald Curse, about a kid getting trapped in a superhero comic world. Whereas I don't have an idea for another book like that. This fantasy universe story I've had, I worry that it might be similar to that as well.
Well, ideas are never really the problem as a fiction writer. I love it when people try to give you ideas. And you're like, man, that is not my issue. Well, you've actually had a fairly steady career with writing. And yes, you've put out 21 novels. You're still working on novels, but you also do other things. And I want to talk about for a minute, because you also write nonfiction for children, and you have over 100 books in that realm. Is that right? Am I getting that?
I'd have to count them up on my website. There's a page.
That's in your bio.
Yes, it's on there. It's on the website. On my website, there's a page that's got all the covers on there, and I'd have to count them up. But there's more. There's about 125, I think. But I don't know exactly without.
But tell us about that, and because you make a living writing. And it's more than just novels that you do. So what sorts of nonfiction writing have you done? Because I think this is a realm that not all writers think about when they think about writing.
It's mostly been books. These are only short nonfiction books, say 24 pages, 32 pages, full of photographs. These are selected and everything by the publisher. They've got photographs, maps, and charts, and goodness knows what else in them. And these are books about animals, about famous buildings, about nature, about earthquakes, things like that. And educational books that go into libraries and are bought by schools and things like that.
And you're usually asked to write about a certain topic, or do you choose those topics?
No, I've usually been. I met a publisher at an event a long time ago. I'd seen these books before, these types of books before, and I always assumed that they had staff writers. I knew nothing about how it all worked. And I gave them a business card, and I got one of theirs, and we got into contact and everything. And they asked me if I wanted to write a book for them about something or other. And it went on from there. And I wrote maybe 25 to 30 odd books with this particular publisher. And then once I was established with them, I could approach other publishers, or they approached me, knowing I'd written this book about. I'm looking at all of them now on my shelf next to the computer here. There's one here called Indigenous Peoples in the World Wars, for example. Something like that, or just about Canada in World War II, or Canada at D-Day, and things like that, historical ones about World War II. And occasionally they need to have a book updated. One of the publishers has recently asked for one to be updated that I wrote on Canada's political parties.
Very cool. Yeah, I bet there's a lot of change needed there. It's been tumultuous 20 years.
Needed updating and everything, so I did that. And then there's the most recent one I did was a series of 6, which was all about animals. It was about predators versus prey, like a grizzly bear against the salmon, or the polar bear against the seal, and things like that. Only 24 pages, series of 6. Nice books, and I have enough copies of those to take them to events and younger children, because of all the pictures in them, that the younger children quite like them, and so the parents will buy them for them at these events, which is very nice.
Yeah, I love talking to writers about how they make it work, because there are a lot of things in the writing space that you can do with your creativity, and your specific skill of research and your love of history has translated into all of these really cool opportunities for you to write. Okay, Simon, we're into the quick fire portion. So I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions here. How long did it take you to write your very first book?
Can't remember, but because I know I didn't have an outline for it and everything, and I know that one of the outlines, complete with the editor's scribbles at the side and everything, I used to take to all the school visits I did. And I still have it. If I ever resumed school visits have not resumed after COVID.
I found the same. I do a few, but I don't do as many as we used to, for sure.
I used to take it with me to show kids, and it's. I know you can't see me on the podcast, but it was quite thick. I mean, this was like 200 pages, this thing on paper, and just to show kids that, look, this is what all the work you have to do to make your story work. And
then at that time, somebody had written on it in a red pen. Like it wasn't.
No. It was just the black scribbles in writing at the side. This was from the first publisher. With the second one, it was a Word document with corrections and what have you and everything. So how long did it take me to write the first book? I don't know. It didn't take 10 years or anything like that.
How long did it take you to answer this question? No, I'm just speaking.
I would say, let's say it took me, because I was still working in the real world and things like that, I would say, let's say with the first book, it took me 2 years. How about that?
2 years, yeah. I mean, and the reason I ask this of all writers that come on the podcast, because it varies, right? And whether it's taking you 2 years or 6, they hear these stories now. And if I'd asked you, how long does it take you to write one of those 125 nonfiction books, that answer is going to be really different. 20 odd years into your career, but your first book especially, it takes a long time.
No, yeah, because you'd mentioned that with those nonfiction books. When I was asked in June, I think it was, of 2023, if I wanted to write the Predator versus Prey series of 6 books, I was given a deadline with that. They wanted those books probably within a month or 6 weeks or something like that. So I had a strict deadline with that, and it was the same thing with the political parties one. That is, although it's a redo, I was asked about this late September, I think, and they wanted them before the end of October or something like that. The redone book. So with those, quite often with those nonfiction books, there's a strict deadline.
Okay, and that's fair.
Having said that.
Yeah.
If it's a book about Indigenous people in the World Wars, or Canada's role in D-Day or something, you have to do research into that. quite often. So there was quite a lot
Like,
of
yeah.
work in it.
And I'm
Yeah.
assuming that they get sensitivity readers and people that are affected by it and, some primary research as well,
Yeah.
some level. Okay. So what was your first big break as a writer where you're like, all right, this is my thing. I'm going to keep doing it. I think I know the answer, but I'm not going to feed it to you. But what do you
I
think?
don't know really. I think really it was a case of, are you talking about before I had a book published or anything?
Up to you. When did you think, oh my gosh, this might actually be my path?
One of the things that you'd mentioned earlier, and I'm sure this would be for all your other listeners as well, was making a living as a writer. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I'd hate to say that anybody can really make a living. To
It's
make a
hard, right?
living, making a living writing your own books and selling them on Amazon or whatever, your own novels, fiction and things, is normally you have to do other things. And
Yeah.
I knew around the time the first book came out, because I was still working in the real world and everything back then as well. Back then, I knew that authors could visit schools and get paid for doing that. And also that you could probably edit books for other people and things. There was all sorts of things within the writing industry. But I had no credibility for doing things like that when I only had, well, I didn't have a book published at all. And it wasn't until when the clone book came out and I'd got 3 books published, maybe 2 or 3 books published, I suddenly got this credibility that was, oh, you could go and edit books for other people, or you could and I was doing all sorts of things that non-related to all this. I was writing websites for plumbers and electricians and things like that because I was a writer. And I could even go to my local pub and offer to rewrite their menu for them and things, business writing, corporate writing, because they didn't want to do it. And I was able to offer my services and I was able to do that kind of thing. So I knew I would have preferred to make millions from my fiction, but I knew there was a way sometime around the time the second book came out, I knew there was other ways related to the book where you could actually make a bit of a living.
Yeah. Very inspirational. And yeah, you're right. There are many, many ways. And there are people who make a living selling just their fiction, but most of us, we do other things, right? And we love it so much. And you have such a talent for it that you can apply it in many different
We're
ways.
still
Okay.
doing it to this day. I mean, it's
Yeah.
right now I'm working.
Still reinventing, right? You got to keep showing up and keep figuring out how to make it work.
Well, that's right. I mean, one of the things that you've noticed as well. I mean, we October now. We reacquainted ourselves back in the spring when we were at the Young Writers Conference, which those kind of things had stopped happening during COVID and everything.
Yeah, and they're slow to come back. The funding just isn't there for some of these things, and so we've had to. Before COVID, I made a living, as you know, speaking and touring, selling books, and then those events disappeared, and now I do a lot more online and coaching and editing, and it's been a reinvention, but I welcome it. You gotta watch for these things as publishing is changing and writing is changing and the industry is changing. We just have to keep showing up and doing our best and trusting that there is work. And
That's the
it's
thing.
been
Yes,
good to
it's
both
all
of
about
us.
with the editing side of it. I do. I currently, I think I have about 5 different people I'm working with in various stages of their books, and they're in all genres and everything. And I've met them through various different ways. One of them, she was in one of my classes at the University of Calgary, and this is a novel she's written, and I've been working with her on that for a while. And there's another one that I worked with in summer camps for years, and this is a memoir it's stalled for a little bit, only because she's been too busy. And then there's another one that's a more of a corporate thing that's more like it's again a bit of a memoir. It's like a story of my success type thing that he's in the middle of, and some of it's in notes and bullet points and things like that. I'm having to sort through it and things because a lot of it I don't understand. It's very technical, and
Yeah.
so there's all kinds of stuff really. that
Awesome.
we're still doing.
So, in terms of, okay, if you could, to the listeners out there, Simon, who are listening to this, getting inspired by everything that you've done, what is your best advice to a writer just starting out?
What is my best advice to a writer just starting out? Cool. What a question. I would say don't give up. I would think, yeah, just keep going. Really, that's what I did. Really, and I've
That's what
kept
you
going
did, and that's
since.
what you inspired me to do. So that is very, very good. Just keep
Yeah,
showing up and keep going.
keep showing up. Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing is, although I've got this project at the moment, my current project, which is in good shape, and I've got another couple as well. Then there's another one that started to bubble up to the surface as well, which I hadn't really thought that I wanted to do anything with. But it's like you said earlier about having ideas isn't a problem. I've got lots of that, and even some of these stories about the superhero comic book universe story. I don't think I would never do a sequel to that, but I think, well, yes, but the ideas I had for the sequel.
Never say
Well,
never, Simon.
well,
Never
yes, I
say
mean that's
never.
the thing. I don't think I'd do a sequel to that, but some of the ideas that I had, because that book came out in 2006, I think. But I would probably, I could certainly do I could use some of the ideas that I had for it and things. And so there's always stuff, or there seems to be. So if somebody
Keep
just
going.
starting out, yeah, don't give up.
Don't give up. All right. We are at the end of our show. This has been super fun. Yeah, we're at the end of our show. It flew by, right? Well, thank you very much, Simon. We'll drop all the links to all of your hundreds of books out there, more than 100 books. So thanks for coming on. You're welcome here anytime.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here. And I hope that people have been inspired by it. People are all very, very welcome to Not Be a Stranger.
Now, where can they find you, Simon? We'll drop all
Well,
the links, but where can they find you?
I have a website at simon-rose.com, and I'm on some social media sites, not on others. And I also have a newsletter that comes out once a month that people are happy they can subscribe to and things. And
I've been reading it for years.
yeah, that's right. And then I will be at some, for those people in Calgary, I will be at certain events for the festive season. Once we get into November, I'll have a table at some of those, and I'll be selling books and autographing them and meeting my adoring fans.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Simon.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to Show Don't Tell Writing with me, Suzy Vidori. Help me continue to bring you the straight goods for that book you're writing or planning to write. Please consider subscribing to this podcast and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you're listening. Also visit suzyvidori.com/newsletter to hop on my weekly Inspired Writing newsletter list, where you'll stay inspired and be the first to know about upcoming training, events, and writing courses that happen in my community. If you're feeling brave, check the show notes and send us a page of your writing that isn't quite where you want it to be yet for our Show Don't Tell page review episodes. Remember, that book and your writing is going to open doors that you haven't even thought of yet, and I can't wait to help you make it the absolute best. If you're feeling called to write that book, keep going, and I'm going to be right here cheering you on. See you again next week.